Welcome back, everyone. We have on tonight's podcast Doug Price from the Agave Social Club. He is healthcare by day and podcast tequila aficionado every other day.
By night.
How's it going, Doug?
Hey, it's going great. Thanks for having me, guys.
We're happy that you're on. Like this is amazing.
And we've got great tequila.
This is true. Unfortunately, it's not a Doug Price single barrel select, but
you've got, is that a single barrel? Is that regular repo, or what do you got?
It's the regular repo.
Okay, that works. One of my favorite.
And believe it or not, Jay is not a huge repo fan.
Yeah, believe it or not.
But I made him a Charo Negro this evening.
Okay.
With the repo, and he likes
not a Batanga, a Charo Negro.
No, well, I didn't stir it with a knife. I stirred it with a spoon.
Okay, totally different. Totally different.
Thanks for coming on, Doug. Matt does a great job of getting us the best of the best guests. I'm not sure. Does he pay you? What does Matt do to get people like you on this show?
This was more like an internship. He told me, if I come on the show, it could be good things for my social media. So I'm here. I'm here. Wow. There's not too many podcasts with tequila in it. So when I get invited, I'm there.
Doug, I appreciate you right now.
And I'm scared of all you guys, because I imagine there's you guys know how to do things that should make me scared. So with all your military and
yeah, just because we're killers doesn't mean we're murderers.
yeah.
There's such a difference. But between my back and elbow and Ash's entire back,
my body,
we're pretty docile nowadays.
I was excited when Matt said you were coming on because, part of the world of my tequila experience, going back to the COVID days when, everyone was locked down, but I had to go to work every day. Obviously there was no stay at home for the popo. And, I was really down that bourbon rabbit hole. And I started to I love all things alcohol, but then I found myself, my body doesn't like certain stuff and I just couldn't drink it. And then all of a sudden I was reading the goodness of, anything from the agave plant, all the tequilas tend to be a little better. So I started drinking tequila and I thought I was drinking the good stuff. And then I saw Lucas Assis, his Instagram, and he's talking about additive free. And then shortly after Lucas, I see your Instagram. So I've been following you for a minute. So between you and Lucas, these are the accounts. Like I tell people, these are the two guys that kind of got me to then kind of get these two guys away from the mass distilled, the multinational conglomerate, pay the $1 billion to the actors to smile pretty and hold the sign up. And instead go to do something a little bit more, artisanal, a little bit more pop shop. So thanks for being here. That's kind of my, oh, wow. We got who on the podcast? I can't believe it.
Well, and you had Lucas. So, I figured if Lucas does it, I've got to do it. So I try to model. I try to model what he does. He's a great guy. He's a good buddy of mine.
And without following you and listening to your podcast, like this never really would have came to fruition, I feel. I'd reached out shortly after listening to your podcast and said, I want to start a tequila podcast. So
I love it. It's hard work. And you guys, you guys have put out a lot of episodes and a lot of times people do reach out to me and they say, hey, I want to start a tequila podcast or I want to start a podcast. And I'm all for giving information, but in the back of my mind, I know the majority of those people won't always do it because it is, especially for three of you guys to come together, to find the schedules, to find the time. It's a lot of work. So congratulations to you guys for staying with it and continuing to grow it.
Thank you.
I'm trying.
So you started out in the entertainment and music industry, and you are also, you switched over to healthcare.
So Yeah, so I was in Nashville for 12 years. I worked in the music industry. I was a touring musician for many years. And then at some point I switched to music business, road management, tour management, and just, I saw I could make more money behind the stage than on the stage, and really enjoyed that. I mean, it was great. That's really where my love for mixology came into play. I actually started bartending, creating bars on tour buses. I saw that, when you're making drinks with love, when you're caring about it, people go, man, this is the best, margarita old fashioned I've ever had. And I go, well, it's really just because I care about it. And, I would get off the bus on, Monday mornings and then bus out again Wednesday night. And Monday and Tuesday, I'm making different syrups and different juices and different things, restocking. And I saw when done right and responsibly, alcohol brings community. It can bring people together. So I worked in the music industry and really loved it. I mean, I spent many years growing to having kind of a dream job. My wife and I, it took us 10 years to get pregnant, and it was a blessing and a miracle. And I happened to be on the road in Portland, Oregon. She was 3 weeks early and called me and said, my water just broke. Joy is driving me to the hospital and you're not here. And so I missed the birth of my son. And that just starts you thinking, do I want to be on the road 6 months out of the year? Do I want to be gone as much as I'm gone? And, we were in Nashville, love Nashville, never thought we would leave Nashville. And I've got a background also somewhat in ministry, and I had a church that was in Orlando that for a year was trying to get me to come on staff as like an executive pastor, administrative director. And it was all around that same time, missing the birth and starting to rethink things, that we said, hey, maybe we should, start thinking about this, praying about this, saying, hey, does it make sense for us to go to Orlando? So that's what actually moved me to Orlando. I took a job at a church. My son was 4 months old. The week before we moved, all hell broke loose at the church. They had to remove senior pastor. I mean, it was, I show up with a little baby and my wife, and people just like felt bad for me. And people were like, oh man, this guy doesn't know what he got himself into. So I was there for a year and a half. It was great. I was used there. I had no blood on my sword. I walked into a very, interesting situation, and after about a year and a half, I felt it was time to go. And I had always loved real estate. In Nashville, I owned a handful of rental properties, and so I knew at some point I would dive into real estate. And I met a guy who was doing healthcare real estate. So all of his clients were doctors looking to purchase or lease or something, and so I started doing that. I worked for a brokerage. It's not easy work. It's 100% commission. You're having to constantly deal with doctors. And so that was good. For the past 7 years, I've been in that space. 3.5 years ago, I went on staff, going in-house for a large medical group. So I oversee all of their real estate. I oversee 20 clinics and any new projects. That's kind of the road that got me to Orlando. I'm thankful for it because I love being here. It's pretty awesome. I've got my son is now almost 9. And so to be near Disney and Mickey and all those fun things, it's kind of special. You got to kind of be a jack of all trades, but that's been my background. And I love storytelling. I mean, I can do the day job because I've got a creative outlet that allows me, I love video work, photography work, the podcasting, and that's what allows me to do the day job, because, it gives me that creative outlet that doesn't make me want to, go crazy.
And speaking of that and the storytelling that you spoke of and being in the music industry that you did for so long, how many P. Diddy parties have you been to, and do you have pictures?
Well, we had to sign a few things, so I can't fully say. Me and Bieber, we would always leave by 9.
You guys have a pact.
I went to Orlando one time for a terrorism conference that I was there. And this is my Orlando story. We are at this conference. It was me and my partner Bill. You know Bill.
Yep.
We're a couple of cowboys, and back in the day, it was no big deal you would get this special kind of number through the computer system that only the cops and feds have, and it would allow you to fly armed if you're law enforcement. And so we fly out to Orlando. We do this terrorism conference, and then the lady who used to do our travel for the police department. She was like the gatekeeper. She was like, okay, the conference got done by, early noon on a Friday. I have you on a 6 p.m. flight to Boston, 2-hour layover. You then halo jump into Denver out of a helicopter, and then a covered wagon will bring you the rest of the way because it'll save the department $22. So we're like not having this flight home. So we call Southwest, and they're like, yeah, we've got a flight that leaves in an hour and 2 hours of the time that we needed to leave. So we drive to the airport. We get there. You can't buy Yingling beer. I'm sure you're familiar with Yingling beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't buy Yingling beer. It's really the main American beer. Everything, a Budweiser, course, it's all owned by foreigners. You can't buy that west of the Mississippi. So I have these 2 Yingling tall boys stuffed in my cowboy boots and my luggage. I'm wearing my flip-flops. And then we get to the airport and I realize, wait, we've got guns in our waistband, but our number doesn't match our new flight. And we can't call back because it's now it's too late. So we get there and I'm like, we're gonna have to bullshit our way past TSA.
With a gun.
Well, hey, we're armed. Here's our flight. But if they see
beer. And
what could go wrong?
Yeah, and liquids.
Some guns,
so
beers.
Long story short, we get the TSA agent, a nice lady. But we're like trying. Every time she'd look down at the form and look at our boarding passes, and we'd have to come up with some new. I'm really sorry about that TSA agent. That what happened at LAX? We're that was that was a really tough one. And then next thing you know, she'd look down again, and then boy, the weather here is really great. We just constantly distract her, and then finally, an airport cop came over. He did the couple quick glances. Yeah, have a nice flight, gentlemen. Have a nice flight, detectives.
Yeah.
So that's my Orlando story. That's about the most exciting thing I've done in Orlando.
That's actually the most exciting thing in Orlando.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought you were going to say you were done on Friday. You stayed the weekend and just drank around the world at Epcot.
Yada yada yada. He woke up in a bed at Mickey's house.
No.
So in this industry, Doug, education is everything. What would you say one of the biggest hurdles as far as educating yourself in the tequila realm has been?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of information out there. One of the hurdles is finding the right information. And now we're in a time, I started 4 or 5 years ago and there were quote unquote influencers. I mean, Long Island Lou was a guy back then that I knew who this guy was. And so there were people that were putting out content, but nowadays I feel like you have to really know where to look for the information. I think everybody nowadays wants to be an influencer, and there have been people that do consistent content, and they've even, to be first to want to get something out, they come out with information and I'm like, that's not right. And like, there's one of them that I'm friends with, and I'll privately message and be like, that wasn't right, dude. And we're all capable of saying something not correct, but so making sure you're going after the correct information. And then, from what I do, the language barrier, that's not really about getting education, but just, we talk about storytelling. We talk about wanting, for me, one thing that I want to do and feel I do decently is connect with people. And it's really hard to connect with someone when you don't speak their language. And so, I understand more than I can speak, and I'm around a lot of the same areas of distilleries and things like that. So I understand a lot of the language that they're using, but there are times where I'm like, okay, this is it. I've been on Duolingo, I've been on Babbel, I got this. And then I get there and they are so fast and I'm like, nope, didn't. Duolingo did not teach me any, and, did not prep me for that. So learning, and it's all, I do need to take the time. It's all a matter of just finding the time to constantly go, hey, I'm going to learn more about this. But being able to connect with people because I've had Ubers there that, you know, they don't speak any English. And I'm like, can't have any just small talk just to connect with someone. And when you don't speak their language, it's very difficult to do. Now, most of the time when I'm in Mexico, I usually have somebody with me that can translate. And the majority of the people that I'm around, they speak English. And so it's pretty easy. And I'm there so much that I feel comfortable even just by myself wherever. But that's one thing that if, you know, I would go, man, it would be a game changer if I could speak that way and really connect and with some of the people that, you know, I'm trying to connect with. But you know, so for that, and then, you know, like I said, just continuing to educate yourself and you know, just trying to make sure what you're saying is accurate from, you know, online. It's not always accurate.
When you mentioned taking an Uber, when you travel to Mexico, what is your preferred method of getting around? Is it Uber? Is it a car service? Is it friends?
Yeah, so it's
say car
yeah,
service.
yeah, it's a little bit of everything. You know, when I started, I would hire drivers and do car service. Like Guadalajara, Uber's amazing around town, Guadalajara, if you're going out or something. You know, now I'm kind of at the point where I've got so many friends there, or their brand trips that they're taking care of transportation. I guess my favorite choice was Patron brought me out, and they actually have an actual coach bus. So that was kind of fun to go on that. But you know, all those I don't rent a car. That's what I don't do.
Thank you very much.
Well, hey,
I've learned everything I need to know from you.
In all due fairness to Matt, his girl was there to Obla.
That's true.
Okay, so
That's
come on
true.
now.
And drive. I mean, they've got like traffic circles that there are zero rules. It's like, hey, I'm in the inside of 4 lanes and I'm going to try to exit, and I'm just going for it. So I don't want to be driving that. And also, you know, when you're at distilleries and you're trying different tequila, they have a very strict, like, it's like a 0.0. I mean, I've been in hired vehicles where, you know, there's a checkpoint and like they don't even say anything. You just roll down the window and they just stick something right in your mouth for the driver, and he better not have anything to drink. So you want to be smart.
Yeah, very good. And that's you know, I like that. That's why I like the hired drivers.
I agree. If I were to go back, but I do like I like the chaos of the traffic circles.
No one likes chaos.
Nobody.
No one likes. That's why safety's third.
I like rolling into Tequila. You know, after getting off the flight, getting through customs in Guadalajara, and then, you know, 2 hours later, it's sundown. The town's alive. The traffic circles are chaos. The street taco is, you know, it's in the air. You can smell the agave. That's what I love about it.
I like it if I'm on foot. You know,
I like it too.
But to be driving, like he said, you know, zero tolerance, getting all those other situations, you know, you don't want to put some situation where, you know, something bad can go down.
My problem with driving in Mexico, Doug, was we were there about a summer ago, and it was, you know, we're from Vegas, so, you know, we move at a very Vegas pace here, and then you get to Mexico, and it's like no problemas. We just go and we get there when we get there, and the next thing you know, we're trying to get to Tequila Matchmaker, and like for some ungodly reason, the traffic on a Saturday was horrible. I'm like, and me, I'm like, dude, I'm like, Senor, como se dice en español? How do you signal to the left and go? Like, vámonos. Like, let's get past all this. I get impatient in the traffic. So,
and it's not just Mexico. Like, I was in Seattle this weekend, and I constantly find myself saying, if you son of bitches don't hurry up, I don't care if it's bringing me my toast, driving, walking out, whatever. Last weekend, I was in Kansas City, and I found myself saying, if you some bitches don't hurry up, I'm going to lose it. That Vegas makes you impatient. Yeah. Because we're so used to moving here, you know?
But Jay, do you know how to say that in Spanish? So if you don't know how to say that in Spanish, you're not going to, you know, they're going to go at their own pace.
Yeah, that's true.
Doug, part of my complaint with the social media side of things is, you know, I kind of feel like you got to feed this kind of dumb algorithm. And it's like, well, if you don't put out 2 reels a day, then you get bumped down in the algorithm and you don't get as many followers. And so we highlight these like artisanally made mom and pop traditional tequilas. And then we kind of do like the mega conglomerate thing of, you see a lot of like filler. It's like filler stuff on the internet. I always feel like some of your stuff is really good. There's a couple guys that do good stuff, but then sometimes I'm just like, okay, what's going on with this? Like, it just seems like, where's the authenticity? It's just you're feeding that algorithm.
So, and there's a lot with that. And before you answer that, there's a lot with that and you said earlier, Doug, about going places to get the right information, but you have to know what the right information is when you go there. Because so many people go to a place thinking it's the right information, actually on a quest to find the right information and wind up with the wrong information. Yep. You need to not just set out to find the right information. That's just not good enough because there's so much other information out there. The possibility of you finding the right information is not as good unless you have someone guiding you to the right information.
Yep, agreed. And I think, look, Tequila Matchmaker is such a great resource for learning about process and things like that, and to just get a quick score and go, hey, let me check that out. There's been some books that have come out recently. Clayton Check's Field Guide to Tequila is an amazing book.
Yeah, great, really good.
Jesse Estes, he just came out not too long ago with, the book that in Tomas that they, there's so much great information. And there are some great content creators out there that do care. For me, guys, this is not an opportunity. This is a passion. I don't know why, I sometimes tell my wife, like, I don't know why I love this so much. I don't know why I love Mexico. I don't know why I love the people so much. I'm clearly, I'm not from there. I'm I didn't grow up in Jalisco or anything like that. And I didn't just have a video, do well. And now I'm like, hey, there's an opportunity here. I think I do a lot just because I'm dumb and people like won't keep up with it. And so I just, like when they're talking about the podcast, like people, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, and they do. And 3 weeks later, they're like, I just couldn't do it. It's just way too much. It's just way too much to do. And so this is for me, it's real. I want to try to learn as much as I can. And, part of my greatest education is interviewing dozens upon dozens upon dozens of amazing people. I encourage people to listen to my podcast, not because of any value I bring, but because of my guests, that they have some really great information that I edit and spend a lot of time editing and listen to it over and over again. So I'm like, okay, I may not have caught that in the moment, but now I'm going back. And so there is a lot of great education out there, but Jay, like you said, you've got to just kind of know what's the BS. You got to know, Asher, what's just something to get the views. Social media is an interesting thing. You can't try to figure it out. And, I've got videos that I go, man, I think this video is going to be it's going to do really well. And it just doesn't do what I think it's going to do. And then, I get a bottle of this Jose Cuervo Devil's Reserve. And so I was like, let me just try this on camera and do a video. And it does better than some like cinematic storytelling, and I go to bed at night and I'm just like, you win again, internet. Couldn't like internet 1, Doug 0. Like I can't figure this out.
Well, just your face on the review today that you did, like the moment that you smelled it, you're like, oh. and then as soon as you tasted it, it was like, oh,
it tasted how it smelled.
Like, this was even worse.
Oh.
What is that?
So a buddy of mine dropped this off and gave it to me, and I think it's more of a gift. A joke. It's this Jose Cuervo Devil's Reserve, and it's actually, I kept getting pickle, but it's also jalapeno. It's supposed to kind of be like the fireball of tequila, and it does not smell great. It's very sweet. It's more of a liqueur, but I figured, I've got it, so I didn't have to buy it. So that's always a plus. So let me do a video. And truth be told, I mean, look, I know that a video like that will probably do decent just because people do want to. Now, I don't like ham it up or anything like that. Was a real response. I intentionally didn't try it before because I was curious to see what that response would be. But there are algorithms. Social media is an interesting thing. I made it a point 2 or 3 years ago to do a video every day, a reel every day, be consistent and do 90 seconds or less, a reel every day. And 2 months in, I said to my wife, hey, this is not sustainable. There's no way I can do this. And we're 3 years later, and I have, Monday through Friday, I've got a video, and it's real. I always look for the value, but sometimes, to your point, Ashton, you've got to go like, okay, what are the stories that I'm going to tell, or what are the brands that I want to highlight, and not have it be like, okay, this is just to put something out to put something out.
And it's also, for me, for me, it's like, who gives a shit what I have to say? Like, who really? But nonetheless, I'll, like, once in a while, I'll get a message. Hey, I love that little quote you gave, or you said that one thing that was funny. Oh, okay. But again, it's for me, that's like my personal side of it is like, does anyone really care what I have to say, especially about tequila? Like, people call me all the time. Hey, I'm at the store. What do I buy right now? I'm looking at this, that, or the other. I'm like, look down to the left. Okay, what's that? Okay, buy that one there.
Yeah.
It's like,
and most of the time that's me on the phone.
Sometimes it is you.
This weekend it was me several times.
Yeah, Jay will love to take a picture of the bar. Like, what am I drinking? I'm like, not that.
He's like, should I get the Devil's Reserve? They just got the Devil's Reserve in.
It's a wonderful bottle. Yeah, wonderful bottle.
It's funny because a buddy of mine, his girlfriend works for a distributor, and so she will. It's nothing uncommon for him to call me up and say, "Hey, I've got a box of like one shot of tequila out of it bottles here. Do you want any of these?" And I go over there and I'm like, no, but wow, yes, for sure. He calls me up the other day. He goes, "Hey, I've got like all these bottles of 1800. Do you want them?" I'm like, "No, I'll pass." No, thank you. I'll keep the Cuervo stuff. Nothing against them. It's just like, make margaritas with it. Just make it your margarita mixer,
when it comes to that, Doug, like what Ash is saying now, and we always talk about the growth in the industry. And I'm a firm believer that I don't want to see our small little segment grow very much. I want it to always be something special just for us. I enjoy going to a different city, looking at the tequila, and then calling Matt Nash on what I enjoy doing that. I don't want to see that much growth. And I recognize that people that are going out in mass need tequila to drink. So some of these things that they make in mass, you have to continue to have. Do you believe, or talk to me about the sustainability of growth in the additive-free world and your thoughts on it?
I think there's enough tequila to go around. A lot of people right now want to know about good quality tequila. And sure, there is an audience of additive-free loving, authentic tequila aficionados that is this size, and then there's this massive audience that they just want tequila and they think Clase Azul is the best, and honestly, they just don't know what they don't know. And many of us were in their shoes at some point before we decided to really go, hey, I want to know the story about this. I mean, people all the time ask me like, well, I'm just random people like, well, what's your favorite tequila? I'm like, you've never heard of it. Like you wouldn't know. I would name 10 amazing brands, and you wouldn't know any of them. And so, I do think that there is a growing audience of people that want to know more about the stories. They want to know more about what they're putting, they care more about what they're putting in their body. They care more also about how they feel the next day. And I don't think it's like, well, it's unsustainable if all of a sudden, I don't think 99% of those mass produced buyers, drinkers are then on a dime just going to be like, where's the Fortaleza? Like we want to buy all of that stuff. And I see it all the time. I see on the Facebook groups, like, don't talk about that tequila because now it's going to become so popular. Let us. And I go, I get that, but there's enough great tequila. I mean, there are so many incredible brands that still don't even get the attention. And, sometimes I feel like I'm doing a disservice to them to go, hey, I need to find and talk more about some of these other brands that are still good quality brands that may not be one of the, legends of the industry, the Felipe, Carlos, Chava, Guillermo, Enrique, so-and-so. And so I think it's growing. I think more and more people want to know about good quality tequila. Now, with that, I think you've got also big brands and conglomerates that want their hand in everything. So they see, hey, this like additive free clean thing is kind of a real deal. We need to get in on that too. And we saw that with, when Trace Generations a couple years ago did the Cenobio's batch, and that was not a Salsa product. That was Chava at Casqueweed made that. And so, it's almost like they start to kind of get their hands in the good stuff just because it's a business. And so for me, I'm more concerned about like, how do we keep this pure? How do we keep the heart?
It worries me sometimes that if everybody all of a sudden decides to get more into it, it will be less around for everybody else. It's kind of like football. So now football has grown so much, and there's so many people now watching and enjoying than there was before, that in order to appeal to the masses, it's watered down the game, and the game is not what it used to be. I'm afraid that if everybody at the bar decides I want additive free, pretty soon there won't be enough there for me when I go. I'm selfish as can be. And I don't care about what everybody else is drinking. I want that. When I was in Seattle this weekend, I went to a place and I said, wait, is that Lalo? Wait, is that Fortaleza? Wait, we're not leaving here. You know what I mean? That's just where I'm going to be. They can go to all the other clubs and all the other places. This is what I'm going to be. I worry about that growth watering down what's available for everybody else.
And all the, like, the Lalos, a lot of those places are building more and more production so that they can produce more. And you want to hope that they, and I believe that they can do it in a way that still honors it and doesn't cut corners or anything like that. I would say another thing, I mentioned Patron. I Patron profile is not like my favorite profile by any stretch, but I've always had a respect for Patron, and after going and really seeing what they're doing, I mean, they're doing some amazing stuff. They are an example of mass produced or replicating, but still they do have quality. It's not, I think at some point some of their expressions could have had some additives, and we even talked about that, and they were like, well, we thought we were, and so I really do think they want to be as clean as they can, but they at least give me hope of knowing, hey, on a large scale, it can be done.
Yeah.
That's my last hope.
Yeah, I've always pointed. I'm like, look, you're in the club. There's nothing.
That's it.
If there's Patron, you can have a Patron and soda. You can have that Batanga with Patron in it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're a big producer, but they're for the most part doing it, within the realms of what we like.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Patron, I would probably drink 20% of the amount of tequila that I currently drink, because like most Americans, I drink most of the time out and about. And the only consistent drink I can get when I'm out and about is a Patron Batanga. I mean, that's it. That's the only consistent thing I can get wherever I go, whatever football stadium I'm going to next, and whatever game I'm going to see. Patron Batanga is consistent as I can get.
Jay really likes football. He's really concerned about the future of football.
They're killing it. No, but
I would still prefer not to drink anything if that's the case.
Matt is
never not.
Matt is a purist.
Just stop it, Matt.
He's a purist.
Look, if he doesn't like it, yeah, I mean,
to everybody.
No, I'm not.
Don't show out in front of our guest. Doug's here. He's our guest. Don't act like you're not going to drink here. Okay.
That's where Matt, you've got to, like if I go on a trip, we here in Orlando, we're close to the ports. We cruise a lot. If I'm on a cruise, and they're probably only going to have, Patron being the best thing. And again, I'm not opposed to drinking that, but I'm usually going to bring my own and kind of, I want to control the situation. So, Matt,
this highly illegal flask that he takes everywhere we go.
I broke it and had to get a new one.
You broke it.
I dropped it at the baseball game. It broke the glass. Shout out to Rag Proper Flasks.
If there's anybody around that has any venue in the Las Vegas area, Ash sneaks his liquor in every single time.
Shout out Pat. Shout out. I was at the Everclear.
Pat him down.
Everclear concert. Yeah, I was at the Everclear concert this weekend.
Yep. Juan does nothing to Ash.
Nope.
Forget it. Your weapons detection system is nothing on Ash's liquor.
Unless you have a glass matometer.
So So
full.
getting back to growth and social media, how do you feel influencer marketing is, do you think it's sustainable for brands now, or do you think it's going to die out?
No, I think it's here to stay. I think it might look different from year to year, but I mean, guys, and it's such an interesting topic. And I see people on the Facebook 101 groups and people want to hate on influencer, quote unquote influencers. And I've never wanted to be an influencer. Like, I'm a content creator, I'm a storyteller, but at the end of the day, I do have influence. So I have to acknowledge that and come to terms with that. But, when I was in the music industry, it was like, okay, I used to do a lot of work with different NGOs. They have brands like World Vision, Compassion International, and these they sponsor children, and they go, hey, we could take our marketing dollars and we could do 3 commercials a year or whatever it is and spend $500,000. And who knows what that ROI is going to be? Or they go, or we could go sponsor a tour and provide the tour bus and equipment, and then someone does an appeal on stage for 10 minutes, and they're actually speaking to an audience that goes, hey, I want to sponsor one of those children. And that's just how businesses work. You want to advertise to the audience. And so I think a lot of brands see there are quote unquote influencers that have an audience.
It's direct marketing.
Yeah, that they want to get in front of. And so I think it will stay. I used to think it was not going to stay, but now I go, brands see that it does work. And I think it will continue to look different. Now, I also think, one, everybody, like I said, everybody wants to be an influencer. And everyone's like, well, I have X amount of followers, or I just did that video. So brand, you should pay me to talk about. So I think brands will over time have to weed through like what has the best ROI and it makes sense for them. I also think, we're seeing a lot of bartenders come into the tequila space, and a lot of them, look, a lot of them have become some of my closest friends, and they do amazing content. I don't fully know if that translates to the ROI that a brand would want, because a lot of the bartender, their audiences, they want to know, hey, what's a good cocktail? Does it look good? Does it, they're not like, well, what's the brand of that tequila? So I can see where, brands at the end of the day, for the most part, there's so much noise that they have to cut through, and they have to try their hardest to get in front of an audience. And so they're almost kind of desperate to have people help them to go, hey, I could do some videos and I could help you and XYZ. And so I think it's an interesting thing. And to the influencer marketing, I think there's a conversation to be had, because I've even seen people that have been putting out consistent content. They will say things like, well, I know brand X does a lot of influencer marketing. Is that why their bottles are more expensive? And I'm like, that's the dumbest thought process. Like, I don't ask those, I don't say that, but it really is, because here's the reality. All brands, for the most part, have a marketing budget, and that marketing budget is usually decided before they spend a dollar or know where they're going to spend that dollar. And so to think that if a brand is using their marketing budget on quote unquote influencers or that type of marketing, that's going to move the needle onto what their bottle price is, you would have to then go, well, but what about the brand that sponsored F1 racing in Vegas and paid like $500,000, if not more? No one's saying, well, their bottle is more because they just spent a lot on sponsoring. I mean, brands all the time do different activations and different parties and different things like that. So I think, to me, because I'm somewhat part of that, and I do brand deals that mostly is like me doing photography work and video work. For 4 years, I never took a dime from any brand. I had a sponsorship on the show. I've got a day job. I wasn't, but the reality is it takes a lot to put out constant content and the gear. I mean, the amount of money I've spent in production and things like that. So I now start to go, okay, there's an actual business here that I somewhat have to navigate. But, you know, I do get a little bit when people say things like that. I just go, man, you have no idea how this works.
That's a very, very good topic that and conversation I would like to have. In the end, capitalism is undefeated, right?
Yep.
They're going to put that dollar where they know they can get the best return on investment. I mean, capitalism is undefeated, and so when you talk about the price of the super premium stuff when you go to the club, as opposed to the marketing for that super premium alcohol when you get there, it's interesting to hear you talk about the price is not associated with the marketing.
It's just a line item. It's just a line item on their P&L or their.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, you know, I would say not every brand needs to do influencer marketing. I mean, I've got, and unfortunately it on the small craft, you know, we do start to see a lot of brands go, man, do I now have to go do a deal with so-and-so? And I've got friends that own brands that are smaller operations, and they're flying all over the country doing tasting events and meeting up with different tequila clubs, and they're growing their brand and having success. And they go to me like, hey, do I need to be doing? And I go, no, take that budget, whatever you think you would spend in influencer marketing, take that budget and continue to put it towards your plane tickets for you going around the country. And like, so it's not this one size fits all. It's not this like every brand has to do it, but there is something to it. And I think it just goes back to modern just advertising and direct to
It also seems like I think that the additive free are, you know, the smaller brand tequila world is ripe for guerrilla marketing. Like I'm in Target the other day with my wife. We never go anymore. We used to go all the time, but for some reason, it's ordered on Amazon. We go there, but it's the only place we can get our dog food from. And I go in there and I'm like, it was so corporate. It was so like, this is the shirt you will wear. This is the shampoo you will buy. And there's this huge store that feels like you have 1 billion options, but you really have one.
Yeah.
And it's like, I quit watching, like I turned the cable off years ago. I just said, why am I paying $150 to watch the stupid news channels that are always doom and gloom? And then you come back to it. So like when I don't go to Target often, I go back, I'm like, it's so corporate. I don't watch cable news. And then I'm in a hotel on a weekend trip. I turn on Fox or CNN and I'm like, football. It's so like, I love football. I love the sport. I love to watch tier 1 athletes compete, the last version of meritocracy in our country. But every commercial is like, this is the pill that will make you better. This is what the brands you will buy. It's so, and then I'm on TikTok, and I don't know if you're on TikTok, Doug, but do you know what Nutter Butter, the Nutter Butter cookie?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Nutter Butter TikTok channel?
No.
Total guerrilla marketing. It is like some kid got their hands on an executive there, and they're like, let us just do something crazy out of the box. And you're like,
because I heard about that, but I haven't seen the actual page.
You go to the Nutter Butter channel, you're like, oh, there's like some 24-year-old kid on acid.
I hate Nutter Butter.
You're going to go buy one after this.
The funny part is that he's on TikTok looking up Nutter Butter.
No, the algorithm is telling me no. Influencers are like, have you seen now?
Social engineering, where somebody mentioned Nutter Butter, and it just your phone listened to it.
But they could easily be. But it's like this guerrilla marketing. It is. I feel like you could do a whole guerrilla marketing with tequila.
Yeah, I mean, look, like my thing has been to always try to add value to brands, and so I don't want to just be like, oh, I can do this for you, or I can I want to come alongside brands and actually build relationships. And the truth is, humbly, I think I've done that as good as anybody out there, because for so many years I would just go to brands and say, how can I help you? How can I serve you? And for the longest time, I'd have brands go, we need to be paying you the amount of attention you're giving us. And I'm like, hey, we'll figure something out in the future. And another thing, just so it's said, I think a lot of times people don't think about this on the like quote unquote influencer marketing is I say no to a lot of stuff. I tell a lot of brands that don't align with what my heart is and all of this. I had one brand that I don't really align with, and they said, hey, we know it's not your thing, but let's just figure it out financially and get it done. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I've had big brands say, hey, we want to know, what are your rates? We want to partner and do something. And my response is, hey, I don't think I'm the right fit for you. And so a lot of times the people on Facebook that want to attack quote unquote influencers, I go, hey, for me, if it was all about the money, and to me, it's always like, well, what's the message? If tomorrow you see me going, hey guys, let me tell you about Clase Azul. This is the most amazing, just quality, then you're like, okay, he's been bought.
Yeah,
but the message is always going to be consistent with how it's been. And so it's an interesting thing. It's this weird, I don't know if there's a large group of people that want to hate just because they hate. And
yes.
We all know that the internet makes you 10 times worse than you really are. You'll say things and write things on the internet that you would
Right.
never say to someone's face.
Yeah, because there's no threat of physical violence on the internet.
Away.
I have a poster in my man cave. It's of Mike Tyson's quote, and it says, the internet has made people way too comfortable saying stuff and not getting punched in the face for it. Yeah, it's Mike Tyson that is Mike Tysonist.
So with talking about influence and the influence that you have, Doug, how would you feel that when traveling to Mexico, how do you feel like your influence is impacted on your safety?
So I definitely don't think I'm a bigger deal than I am. And so I want to believe no one knows who I am, but the reality is people do. And I've even done videos in the past that, and look, when I do a video, I try to be positive. There's enough negative people out there. There's enough people wanting to talk bad about whatever. I try to at least be respectful, but there are a few brands that I will be honest about. And I remember doing one and it was for a very large brand. And you just kind of think like, hey, you do the video. I'm not tagging them in it. Like, I'm not like, oh, I want them to see this. And the next day they email me and they're like, hey, we saw your video. We just wanted to, and they were nice about it. Like, we just were like, if you have any questions, but to me, it reminded me everybody's watching. Yeah. Everybody's watching. When you get to a certain level of respect or notoriety or followers or whatever, there is an audience that goes, okay, let's see what this guy is doing. And so when, so I'm mindful of that when I'm in Mexico. I do try, and look, the people I've met in the industry are so kind, and Mexico has a lot of beautiful, amazing people. But tequila is a $1 billion industry, and any $1 billion industry has some shadiness to it. It just does. And so I definitely now don't always like say when I'm going to be there. And sometimes it's hard because I will post things. And so people know I'm there. And when I'm there, I usually get a ton of messages from people going, hey, I see you're here. Can we meet? Or I've got this tequila brand. I want to meet with you. But I try to never like say where I'm going to be or at least delay it by a few days. I actually, it's interesting that people, and I'm always like on brand, like I'm wearing an Agave Social Club shirt. Like, you got to live the brand. And so there have been many times where I'm somewhere, whether that's at an airport or at a distillery, and somebody goes, I know who you are. And so you start to kind of go, okay, people are watching. But, overall, I do feel safe. For the most part, I think brands see that I'm for them. It's never good to like be in a position where you're like taking money out of someone's pocket. So if I don't want to like hurt someone's sales, but I'm also going to be honest and share my opinion. And I try to do my best to say, guys, it's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Like
and
you may not agree with me. It's just my opinion. But for the most part, I feel safe. But I also don't want to advertise like, hey guys, tomorrow night I'm staying at this hotel. Let's anybody just show up.
That's a good thing.
and we've had this discussion now over the past 8 months with several people along exactly what you're talking about. Two things: one, taking money out of someone's pocket, and two, everybody watching, and some of the things. And this discussion started a while back when we talked about the raid with Grover and Scarlett, and some of the things that came about because of it, as far as what are some of the potential things when you start saying things that negatively affect that billion-dollar business. At some point, you have to assume that everybody's watching and money's money, capitalism wins, and someone's going to have a response to your negative comment about their chunk of the billion-dollar business. You have to be mindful of that. And that's one of the things that we've recognized here.
Yeah, but there's also, I think, a little bit of a other side of it to some extent that like there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah,
and so even today, this Cuervo, this Devil's Reserve, that video has done fairly well. And I'll be honest, I'm sure some people might go buy it just to try it to go, oh man, I'm curious to see what it tastes like.
100%. Someone was going to buy that.
Absolutely.
Like I had a big. I had a big Cuervo brand reach out to me, celebrity brand, and they're like, "Can we send you a bottle of our new añejo?" And I'm like, "Do you know what I do? Do you know like what my core is here?" But I think to them, they were like, "Well, that video did 30,000-40,000 views on Instagram, so that's a win for us." And it costs them shipping on a bottle.
Yeah, there's no bad marketing. It's that idea that like even the bad stuff is selling. It's going to put money in our pockets.
Yeah,
it's genius.
Yeah, because I mean, even as an influencer as yourself, even though you don't consider yourself an influencer as much, but more of a content creator, that content you're creating, and they see that, they just want to.
It's free advertising for them.
It is.
It's free advertising.
I'm the idiot. It's free advertising for them.
They're like, wait a minute, Doug Price is going to review our bottle, whether it's good or bad. It's out there, and we're getting the views from people who probably would never even expect to see. That brand.
Yeah, look, I did a couple weeks ago. I did, so we've this Weber Ranch, that agave vodka. I did a video. I did a video on that. Full transparency. I had a meeting today with their marketing team. Like I had zero communication with them, had no idea. I just saw it. I didn't want to like it. I was like, what is going on here? And I knew that a lot of that team was from the tequila industry. And so there's some big players there. And I was at La Cava at Epcot and with my buddy Javi, who created that bar, and we started talking about it, and he said, I got some, try it. And I was so ticked that it was decent.
I liked it.
Have you guys had it?
Yeah.
It's actually not that bad. I have a bottle.
It's like the essence, and the reality is it is tequila. It is made in Jalisco, twice distilled, no additives, and then they take it to Texas. They add different water, and they go column still because I got to get it up to 190. And Antonio, their master distiller, was like, "I'm not going to rest until this is got agave essence, but it's vodka." And I did that video.
I've had 3 of them. I love them.
They didn't know who I was. I've never talked with them. I had people commenting like, how much do they pay you? I'm like, my buddy gave me the bottle, but they all reached out afterwards and they were like, we saw your video and it disrupted. And that's what we want to continue to do. We want to honor the agave. So it's things like that, every once in a while you do something and it does catch the attention. And, I'm not saying I'm like working for them. I did post a photo. I decided to take some photos just because I'm trying to get better at that. And so I posted a photo, and immediately I had somebody message me and go, "So now you're a vodka influencer?" And I was joking, but I'm like, okay, agave's agave, you know.
I did the same thing though. Somebody, I saw it online. I tried it somewhere. I liked it. But I'm not like you and Ash. I didn't hate that I liked it. I liked it. I liked it. You know, I went to Corey's, which is one of my smaller stores here, and I asked them about it, and they said, "Huh, we're gonna start carrying it," and they did, and the shit's good.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying? It's good stuff.
for the price point, and honestly, I would consider it a good vodka mixer.
Yeah.
I tried it neat, and I was like, okay, it's not bad, but
We're not looking to sip on it all night, but
yeah.
And along those lines, Matt, what you're saying is one of the things that Ash talks about all the time is that agave, I feel better the next day.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's tequila or vodka. If it's coming from agave and I'm going to feel okay the next day, then Moscow Mule with that it is.
Well,
and it's just the way it is.
And I think that's more the additive free
Yeah.
way, because
100% true.
because you definitely don't get that feeling the next day unless you've polished off a bottle and a half.
yeah, you gotta be careful with that. I actually have a video coming out because people are like, if it's additive free, you can't. And I'm like, if you take down a high proof bottle, like you're gonna be in trouble.
This is the rule. This is the rule, everybody. Every night is Friday, as long as every morning is Monday.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Amen.
Someone that's retired. Cheers.
Oh, no, I'm in the gym every morning, brother, whether I'm drinking the night before or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's true. All right. Matt, what you got? Get him one more good one.
I will say this. I do a lot of scrolling on my ADHD and Instagram and scrolling through that top reels part. I bypass a lot of bullshit. But when I see Doug Price has posted,
First thing in the morning.
I stop
And you
there.
know what? I've got to get into this whole Facebook thing you guys talk about. Apparently, it's getting big. I need to look into it.
Actually, Facebook started before Instagram, so
Facebook. What do you mean?
Let's.
I do most on Instagram and
my social media timeline started last Thursday. So, but you talk about Doug was talking about the Facebook groups. And all
there's some tequila. There's some like Tequila 101. There's some different tequila groups, and the reality is, some of those groups have 20, 30,000 members, but it's really like the same 25 people or so that post and comment, and I'm usually one of them, the most, and a lot of those people, look, a lot of them are old school tequila lovers, and so I get it. Like, I don't know if they're bitter that they missed their opportunity to kind of get into the social media window. I don't know if they just, think, I don't know. But there's that group, and at some point there are times where I'm just like, hey, don't even look at it, because there's a lot of hate on there and things like that. Yeah. And for me, honestly, I'm thankful that I think I do have somewhat of mutual respect from a lot of those people, because I think a lot of them see I'm not like, I really do care about this. To me, this isn't an opportunity. This isn't, I have, in full transparency, I have started to step back from my day job, which is a really weird thing. I'm 2 weeks into it. I just went to them and I said, hey guys, I need time. I've got another side hustle, and truth is, my job, and I'm at a VP, I started director, now I'm at a VP level, and my job was to create multiple new clinics, and throughout COVID and everything, like, we've slowed down. So I think I can do my job even with a reduced time of being, there for them. But for me, content creating is nonstop. It is nights and weekends. And I have sacrificed my health. I don't work out in the morning like I used to, because I'm usually up till 2 a.m. editing something. I don't get to spend time with my family like I would like to, because I've got to make sure that podcast is out. I got to get those videos ready. And and it has come with a cost. And so I approached my company a couple months ago and I just said, hey, I've got a problem, but here's a solution that I think will work for everybody. So I have, I now don't work on Mondays and Fridays, even though I still am plugged in just because there's stuff to do. But it has been amazing to have some additional time to focus on the Agave Social Club. I feel like I'm reactive when I want to be planning. You know, Lucas, who's amazing, a dear friend, his wife Michelle is even better than he is, and he used to tell me she's awesome. She's like she helps him so much, and he used to say to me, "Hey, every Monday or every first day of the week or first day of the month, Michelle and I will get together and we'll sit down and go, hey, what videos do we want to create this month?" Guys, I don't have that. My wife is amazing. She is so supportive, but she's got her own job. She is not a creative type. She is a numbers analytical. She is the string to my balloon. Like, I'm the dreamer. She's the one that's like, nope, you know? Yeah. And so she's not creatively wanting to sit down with me and discuss what videos I'm doing. So I'm doing this all by myself. And I wish I had a team to go, hey, let's bounce ideas. I have people that will message me. They're like, you guys, what you guys are, I'm like, it's not you guys. This is all me. This is all me.
That is Doug.
And so I'm trying to blend content creating. I will be in Mexico in a few days, and I've got a video project with another brand. I've got other brands that I've got work that I need to do for them, which is video work. And so I'm trying to grow that, but I do still have the day job. It's now turning into a hybrid scenario. I don't know how long that's going to last. Anytime you go to your employer and say, I want to work less, they usually start to like say, okay, the clock has started, let's replace them. So I'm
always want to replace what you have to do with what you love to do. I mean, so that's the goal.
Yeah, but it's a hustle. It's a nonstop hustle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one final question before we close it out, and it's Jay's one of Jay's favorite questions. So, outside or within the brands that you work with, he likes to do the top maybe 2. Let's do top 5. You're stranded on an island. What 5 tequilas are you taking with you?
No, that's too many.
No.
3.
Let's do 5.
It's Doug,
3.
It's Doug Price.
No.
I don't deserve special treatment.
Thanks.
Okay, but I need clarity. So is it brand, and within that brand I have access to any bottle? Because that's a different question. Or is it just the bottle, whether that's Añejo, high proof, Repo?
We'll go with Jay. 3 brands and expressions of those brands.
Okay, 3. Okay, so look, I'm always trying to be Switzerland because I've got so many great relationships.
Listen. If you want to do 2 honorable mentions, we're good with that too.
Some asterisks. Jay doesn't like any of this. Okay, so okay.
In the hotel.
Okay. There's such a larger conversation than this. I'm going to start out with Tapatio 110.
Gracias.
Didn't I just have that this weekend?
You didn't like it. You didn't like it.
I just had it 2 days ago. I didn't like it.
Well, it didn't like you. Let's just be honest. Tapatio 110. There's a lot of amazing high proofs, and there's
Doug, I'm convinced they put some mezcal in his cocktail, and because he's like, it's smoky. I'm like, no, they put mezcal in the cocktail.
It's better than a roofie.
I promise you, they did a little bit of mezcal to take the edge off the burn of that high proof.
All right, what are the other 2?
I'm gonna go. We're sipping on it tonight. I'm gonna go with a Valon single barrel Reposado. It should be my single barrel, but it could be any because I think they just do a fantastic job. And Felipe, look, there's so many amazing tequila producers. For me, Felipe and Chava are just they're just so special, and there's so many special, but they're very, very special. So I would go with that.
That's two. You got one more.
Yeah.
Don't get cocky.
He gets 2 honorable mentions.
I would go with
Don Fulano.
Don Fulano is great. The Imperial, their Fuerte is great. I
I'm leaning Cascaheen.
I know. I love, for me, añejo is probably my hardest like expression. Like it's just so, reposado is like, it's such a balanced, and extra añejo, you just want some barrel. Añejo, you're just like, what is this? But I do love some great añejos. So I'm going to skip the añejo.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm going to go with Tears of Llorona because it's a 1 liter.
Also good.
We got a lot of barrel. We got a little bit above proof. So
The first person ever say that, and these two love that.
I mean, basically what I'm learning from this exercise is Jay and I are not as close of friends as I thought. But okay. And so honorable mentions, Cascaween Tahona Blanco is one of my top Blancos. And I would also throw in Cascanes Hoven, like old school malolactic.
I love my Cascanes.
Just cheesy, funky. They're trying to replicate it. Time will tell, because that mallow, they have to like stop production on everything at the distillery to work on that. So we'll see if they can do it. But that old school Hoven, which I still have a bottle in my quote unquote vault cabinet, is amazing stuff.
Nice.
So there it is. Oh, every other brand I did not mention, I still love you.
I would like to mention here while we're on the air with Volans that this thing is imported out of Ashton, Idaho.
That's where, they're.
I will say that
I've never been to Ashton, Idaho. But anyways, yeah,
I'll say that was cool. Doug. I have a deep hatred for all things not Blanco. And he made me a drink today with his Reposado that I did not hate. Now, actually, this is the second time I didn't hate a Repo. The first was at a tasting we went to at the Cask. And that was
a
Arete. So this Volans
solid stuff. Look, hey, Volans, Chad and Christina, husband and wife. They are a small team. They are growing. Chad's one of my best friends. He just told me recently that in June of this year, they had matched how much they had sold last year. So they're growing and they are putting in the work. They moved back to Mexico with their kids, small kids. I mean, these are the type of brands I want to support because they're doing it right. They're putting in the work, and they're also making sure they go to the distillery at least once or twice a week, and they're just loving on the people. Like, it's real easy to get a bottle of tequila and drink it and have no thought about the amount of hands that go into the production, the sticker, all those things. And so anybody that sees value in those people and wants to continue to tell them, hey, thank you, I'm all for. So Volans has been a great partner of mine. They're dear friends. And when I say partner, again, they've never paid me a dime, and I hope they never do. They're some of my best friends. I've been to their kids' birthday parties. I've spent nights in their house overnight, just talking life with them. So really, really great stuff. And that's what I want to do. I want to continue to highlight those type of brands because I think they're doing it right.
And that's good. And you talk about how it's those two doing everything, the husband and wife. And you kind of hit on it earlier when you talk about those two doing everything. And you kind of said earlier that you wished your wife was a little more supportive in this. Do you wish
she's very supportive?
Better wife that helped you with this part of your life? You said it, and I'm just going back to it. No,
nope.
Jay is stirring the shit.
Nope.
Here's the kettle.
Jay, when I hang out with you, I'm giving you everything but Blanco.
Doug, I know you said you're a music guy. Are you a guitar guy?
Well, I'm a bass player, but
Okay.
these days I do find myself playing more acoustic guitar just because my son is playing piano, and so I want to be able to play along with him. But I think music's a beautiful thing.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a. When you said Nashville and country music, I'm like, this guy's got some guitars on the wall.
Nashville, man.
I do have some basses. I've got a 72 vintage Fender Jazz,
Nice.
and a 75 custom classic Fender Jazz on the wall.
Very nice.
And I think music's beautiful. And you mentioned seeing Everclear like recently, which I think
last weekend.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, I feel like there's been more bands from like the 90s and 2000s that are back on tour, which has kind of been a fun thing.
That generation.
So we renovated our house. It was basically like, I'm in this fuck you kids phase of my life where it's like, all right, I raised these kids. They're now all grown. They're out of the house. I want my space. So I ripped out all the flooring. We did all the paint. I put a new TV on the wall. And I have all these guitars. I'm a guitar guy. And not that I'm good, but I enjoy playing. I've been playing since I was 15. Okay. And I have collected over the years. I have all these guitars. And I'm like, they're just sitting in this giant rack, you know, in the living room. And I'm like, it's wasted space. So we ended up we turned the entire stairwell of my 2-story house into basically like a hard rock cafe with albums, guitars, guitar album, a picture of Slash. And then I've gone out and I found these concert posters from concerts that I either worked overtime as a cop at and got to get to hear some of my favorite bands, got paid to listen to them. And then just, stuff from my childhood, like the nostalgia of it. And then at the very top of the stairs, I have this acoustic bass. It's technically my son who's a medic in the Army out in Arizona. But then my youngest son, he plays it. So it's at the very top of the stairs. So when you said guitars, I thought, or I'm sorry, you said country music. I immediately see like a guy like you up on stage, Chris Stapleton next to you, and the guitar thing with the whole country music. So,
hey, my last show was a Radio City Music Hall, and so I figured, hey, let's go out on that. But music's a special thing, and I'm excited to share that with my son as he continues to grow.
Awesome.
And maybe as he gets older, share some tequila.
Yeah, music and tequila.
Perfect. Well, as we close out, Doug, where can everyone follow you on social media?
Yeah, so it's called the Agave Social Club. So Agave Social Club podcast. You can listen to that on Spotify, Apple, wherever else you listen to podcasts. I do a lot on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, mostly on Instagram. And I also have, just shameless plug, I've started an actual membership. You can be an official member, and like I'm really honest with you, it is worth it. There's a cost to it, but it is worth it. You will make that money back and some. So you can check out the AgaveSocialClub.com if you want to learn more about that. But ultimately, I'm just trying to share the beautiful story about tequila, and more than that, the people that are behind it.
Awesome.
Well, Doug, we thank you for your time, and we appreciate you being on our podcast. It's been phenomenal having you on.
Yeah, very
anytime.
Total honor to have you on, brother.
Guys, thank you. Thank you for letting me come share this story. Thank you so much.
You get out to Vegas, man. It's drinks on us, and we'll come over to the house. You grab the bass, I'll grab the guitar. We'll jam a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's do it. Let's do it. Santa Monica all night long. Let's do it.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
Later. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salute.